It's Friday, last show of the week. I'm the Prez. You're watching Morning Joe and the Pro. Our guest today, my co-founder, Marco D'Angelo, and the legendary, the iconic, the best there was, the best there is, the best there ever will be, Ralph Michaels. What we're going to do today, 2 college football games and 2 NFL games. I'm going to bring my guests in. We're going to get straight to it. Ralph, how did you like your intro?
Yeah, it was good, Prez. I appreciate it. Thank you. I'll send you that $20.
Yeah, I need to pay you $20 to come on our show. Looking good in this nice shirt you're wearing.
Yeah, well, doing the TV show on Sports Grid Daily with Teddy's made me get dressed. And, I do a segment on Marco's and VR's great show, Bet on It. And Marco changed the scenery, so now I have to wear long pants to videos as well. I don't know what's going on here.
Yeah, Prez, he threw a big fit that I told him he had to wear pants this week. And, it's just, I say, hey, this is a first-class show. I said, if you want to wear shorts, you can do the presidential address. If you're doing my show, you got to be dressed
Well,
up.
if I take you any time, you can wear shorts. I don't care. Marco, the show is incredible. The production quality is unbelievable. I'm so happy and proud for you guys. Did you check out my VR invitation?
Yes, we did. And VR got quite a kick out of it. And he actually responded to it on the show. And, Prez, the show, it's beyond anything I thought it could possibly be. I knew we had a good show. We did this show before, at a different location, but it was only in an audio form. And I knew that if we could bring this show to life and make it a TV type show production with VR, myself, and then the addition of Kelly, just the chemistry that we have is so incredible. We have a ton of fun. The show is an hour-long show. It comes in under an hour. It's like you blink and it's done. It doesn't even feel like we're doing a 45 to 50-minute TV show.
Ralph, the best part of the show is you, and he didn't even mention you.
That's right. I'm always the sidekick. No problem with that.
Ralph knows that he is my main man. And he is, I went all the way to get him to come to the other side of town so that he would be on my side of town so I could hang with him, pick his brain for knowledge on a daily basis. The chicken wings and Miller Lights that he downs that, I pick a tab up now and then for him. I do it because I feel privileged to be getting dropped on all the knowledge that the man has. I just question his taste in beer.
All right, let's talk football, guys.
Ralph, that's why you need to be on a show with me every day. Michigan, guys, we spoke about this a few times this week already. Just so everybody knows, I let my guests pick what games they want to talk about. For some reason, every one of them wants to talk about this Michigan-Wisconsin game. So here we go. We'll hear Marco's take on it. I've already given you my take on it. Michigan at +3.5, over and under 44.5. Marco, I am sick of talking about this game. I hand it to you.
Well, no problem. This is a spot here where we look at the Michigan Wolverines. You got to go back and look at that Army game and say, what the hell happened there? 21.5-point favorite. They were lucky to escape Army 24-21. Was it a case of them looking ahead to this game, even though it was 2 weeks away? They had a bye week last week. Or was it simply a case that Michigan just didn't prepare properly for the option attack of Army? It's tough when you face a team like Army, Navy, these teams that run the option, and you don't see it that often in your conference. It takes extra work to prepare for it. And I think Michigan just felt they needed to show up. They were going to get the win, and it almost cost them. Now we look at a Wisconsin team, and to me, we talk about value, and I'm sure that everybody that's broke this game down for you this week has mentioned the word value in regards to Michigan today. You've got Wisconsin because they've won their 2 games by a combined 110-0. The world is looking at Wisconsin that they're unbeatable. They haven't played anybody. They played South Florida. who's not a good football team this year. And Central Michigan, well, that's a MAC school, and they play no defense at all in the MAC, and they just got steamrolled by a Wisconsin team. I think you're going to see the real Michigan team today. I think they were keeping things under wraps as far as their offense goes, didn't want to tip their hand to anything. This offense was supposed to be improved this year. That's been the knock on Michigan over the last several years with Jim Harbaugh. Great defense, no offense. They're supposed to go at a faster pace this year. It's the second year of the system for Shea Patterson. All of that adds up to, I think Michigan is a very live dog. And if you go back to the college games of the year when they were released earlier in the summer, this game would have had Michigan as the favorite, and now we're getting 3.5. I'm on Michigan. I'll go ahead and take Jim Harbaugh. That, you know what, I hate to say it, but these are the type of games that have got him in trouble in the past. He needs to win games like this, and then at the end of the year, as Ralph knows, the one albatross that he can't get over is beating Ohio State. This is what he needs to do this year, or we might not see Jim Harbaugh. I'll take Michigan.
He's Marco D'Angelo, and Ralph Michaels with us, all of us found at WagerTalk.com. Ralph, Marco thinks we're going to see a much better Michigan today. What do you think is going to happen tomorrow?
You know, I don't
get it, Marco. Get it, Marco.
I got it, Prez. That was witty.
You know, Prez, you and I talked about this game on Tuesday as well, and you know, I'm just gonna regurgitate my statements. The only thing keeping me off Wisconsin is that 2 weeks ago, my power ratings had Michigan as the better team by 4 points. Marco, you talked about the summer lines. Yeah, at one place, the Golden Nugget, Michigan was a 5-point favorite. At another place, the Game of the Year lines, Michigan was a 6.5-point favorite. So there is a substantial switch. Now, I don't mind playing against a line move if there's an injury or something occurred with your team. But this is a Michigan team that I had ranked as the best in the Big Ten, tied with Ohio State, that was returning 13 starters, including 8 on the offensive side. But when you've played Middle Tennessee and Army and you're only rushing for 3.8 yards per carry, I don't care how much you're working on your offense or how much trouble that is, I can't back you. This Wisconsin team I thought would be down a few notches. Listen, they lost 4 offensive linemen, including 2 to the NFL, that had 150 career starts. Those type of losses are very difficult to recruit from. Wisconsin looks like they've done it. And while people say they've played no one, there's a hell of a lot of teams that have played worse opponents than going on the road and playing USF and another opponent. So to me, you know, people could say all they want they haven't played anyone, but they've played better than most. Telling stat, Michigan since 2013, 0-13 straight up as a dog. They have not won a game straight up as a dog, and they haven't been a big dog. I'm talking 2, 3, or 4 points, maybe a touchdown dog. Jim Harbaugh gets out-coached in big games, and while Wisconsin won't be on my board, and if Michigan wins, it won't surprise me, I'd have to take Wisconsin here.
Guys, next game I want to talk about, and then we'll go to a commercial break, is Michigan State against Northwestern, and Michigan State finds themselves -9. Last week they were -14. They lost the game outright. This is one of the worst coach teams in the history of sport. If you accept that there's 2 sides to the ball. Defensively, the guy might be a genius. Offensively, brain cramp. I don't think he is out of the 70s. This guy is so bad offensively. I'm surprised they're not running the wishbone. I'm surprised I don't see an I formation. I'm surprised he doesn't put all his wide receivers lined in a row behind each other in the running back position. I couldn't watch a Michigan State game if you paid me. I have no idea how they could be -9 against a Canadian high school team because it would require them scoring 9 points. 9 points for Michigan seems like a hell of a lot of points. They put up 51 against Western Michigan. So it is capable. Marco, what are you doing with this boring ass game.
Well, I'll tell you what, you hit the nail on the head, Prez. The Michigan State offense has been, just plain offensive last week. A lot of people were on Michigan State. I agreed with the side last week. I thought they would steamroll Arizona State. They didn't. They played with revenge last week. Maybe a little bit throw in there that a win last week would have given Coach D'Antonio the all-time record for most wins in the Big Ten. But I'm going to come back with them here. And off of that embarrassing offensive performance, and this is a team that if you look at it, the passing game was fine. I don't know how it did not convert to points with this team. It's not like they had a ton of turnovers. They had one turnover in the game. But they did throw for 291 yards, completed 24 of 39 passes last week. The running game, 35 carries, 113 yards. Nothing to write home about there with the rushing attack. But they're facing a Northwestern team that everybody knows the history of Northwestern. You play the dog in a Northwestern game. That's just it. That's blindly you do that. You've made a shit ton of money over the last several years. But I'm going to look for that trend to stop. Northwestern, I go back, they beat a UNLV team. They couldn't cover against UNLV. Did they look past UNLV to this game? Absolutely. UNLV was coming off of a pitiful performance the week before at home, got derailed. I think it was against Arkansas State. Looked horrible in that game. There's no way Northwestern was going to be taking them seriously, and UNLV hung around and got the money in that game. They're going to go against a defense today, Northwestern, that I don't know how they're going to be able to score. And I go back and look at the first game of the season for the true indicator on this Northwestern team. They only put up 7 points against Stanford. Now, at the time, you look at that game at the beginning of the season, and Stanford had a little bit of hype coming in. They were a top 25 team. I didn't think they deserved to be a top 25 team, but they were. And we've seen since then, Stanford is nowhere near what we thought they were or what they've been in the past, especially on the defensive side of the football, which has always been Stanford's strength. The fact that Northwestern only scored 7 in that game against Stanford is why I'm on Michigan State here. Michigan State's defense is one of the best in the country. And off that embarrassing performance last week, I think you're going to see a very focused effort out of this Michigan State team. And they've got to get this offense cranking. They've got to keep the foot on the gas. And I look for them to have more points like they had in the Tulsa and the Western Michigan game. Granted, those are two lesser foes. But that Tulsa game, they absolutely dominated that game. The 28 points they had at halftime, they didn't score any points in the second half. They took their foot off the gas, which cost me a point spread win in that one. But I don't see them doing that here. I like Michigan State. I'm going to go ahead and lay the points with this team. It looks too easy for the average Joe to grab Northwestern plus the points at home. I'm not buying into it. I'm coming back with Sparty.
Ralph, so before I get to you, let me just talk quickly a little bit about Marco's analysis here. So he expects them to bounce back big after a pitiful offensive performance. So dating back to last year, they put up a 6 spot against Ohio State. They were so embarrassed by putting up 2 measly field goals against Ohio State. They worked all week diligently on their new offensive formations to come back and look good. And then they go to Nebraska and a 6 spot the next week. 2 weeks in a row, no touchdowns. This team is gutted. They go back, they pull out the Mike D'Antoni playbook, which looks similar to this snotty tissue. And they go to and they host Rutgers at home and put up a 14 spot. Then they think to themselves, oh my God, 2 touchdowns in 3 games? We've got a fan base. We should make them happy. Let's think of some trick plays and something else. So they pull out their other book, which looks like this, and they go to Oregon and put up a 6 spot. Oh, way to go. This freaking team has put up less than 7 points in 1, 2, 3, 4 of their last 7 games. Less than 7 points. The Toronto Argonauts could put up more points. Freaking, I don't even know a Division 5 team. I don't even know if there is such a thing. This team has put up less than 14 points 5 of their last 7 games. Marco, if you think they have any pride in their offense, you are insane. Mike D'Antoni is the worst offensive-minded coach in history. Ralph, talk to me.
Prez, what do you think about Michigan State's offense?
They don't have one. Michigan State's offense is the equivalent of, what do you think of a Virgin's moves?
All right, here's my take on it. I'm not going to be quite as blatant as Prez, Marco, but a couple counterpoints to your point. Yeah, Northwestern, the dog, is 14-2-1 against the spread, and I don't see a reason to play against it. I'm not one that can play the deuce this that Michigan State's due to have a good offense. You talked about the Tulsa game, and that was only 303 yards. Yes, they dominated. They dominated because they held the defense to 80 yards and 8 first downs. There's no point in time when you can look at a box score and say, we had 303 yards, and you can think you can cover a 20-point spread. Now, to the Northwestern side, yeah, Northwestern only had 7 points and 210 yards, but you forgot to mention their quarterback got hurt after 10 attempts and was out for the rest of the game. They had to play a freshman in Hunter Johnson. Hunter Johnson was atrocious. Last week, they don't cover against UNLV because Hunter Johnson was making his first start in his career. Yeah, that's a tough spot for any young quarterback to do, make that tough start. He still moved Northwestern for 441 yards. They still averaged 5.5 yards per carry.
And for the record, not to interrupt, they're playing a Michigan State team that actually doesn't have a quarterback. Sorry, Ralph.
Well, with that said, Hunter Johnson to me has not proven yet he is a college football. Listen, he's a 5-star recruit that went to Clemson and transferred here. So this kid can play. I mean, Clemson's had some quarterbacks. So it's not a situation where he's not going to be able to be good. He is going to be good. But against this Michigan State defense, I'm looking at the under. You can say, oh my God, this is the lowest total. This is the lowest total this year. And it is. But I tweeted out earlier, there are times in college football, and I talk about this in college basketball, the exact same thing. We're so accustomed to seeing totals in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. When we see a total like 40, or like UCF last year in college basketball, when you see totals of 117, people don't think there's any value to the under because they're so accustomed to seeing high numbers. Well, since 2015, there have been 27 games with a total of 40 or less. They've gone 9-18 over under, or 67% to the under. I think Michigan State has trouble scoring. I think Northwestern has trouble scoring. I think there's still value with this under. And, my point is, Marco, if you think Michigan State's going to score 24, 28, 30, obviously you're against me and you like the over unless you think they're going to shut them out. But I still think the most value in this game is on the under.
Yeah, I mean, listen, for me, I think 3-3 at plus 60,000 seems like the bet. And that includes overtime. I mean, I think these two teams could go into overtime and be the first two teams in history of overtime where on the 10th overtime with no scoring on either side of the ball, the refs just say, no mass, we're calling it a game. You idiots can't move the ball.
I just want to add a couple things to what you guys are talking about. First of all, the only reason Northwestern got 30 points last week was the fact that they were able to run the football 50 times. 50 times in that game, they ran the football for 276 yards against the UNLV defense. I know you haven't watched UNLV at all, Prez. I know Ralph has. UNLV's defense is absolutely atrocious. Okay, and that's the only reason Northwestern was able to move the football at all. They are not going to be able to run the football against this Michigan State defense. Michigan State in the first game, and correct me if I'm wrong if I'm looking at this stat, Ralph, Tulsa had minus 73 yards rushing in that game.
Yeah, no question. On the year, Michigan State is allowing 0.9 yards per carry, under 1.0 yards per carry.
Hey, listen,
Now you've got an inexperienced quarterback that is not going to be able to have the benefit of a balanced attack. You need a balanced attack for a young quarterback to excel. He's going to have to do it through the air, and it's not going to happen because they're going to get 0 on the run. And let's flip to the other side that you guys aren't mentioning. Michigan State can run the football. All right, last week they had trouble. Arizona State, one thing Herm Edwards has done with that team has made them a decent defensive team. UNLV ran the football for 210 yards against this Northwestern defense last week. 210 yards.
Enough. We got to take it.
All right. Prez, you want to put any money on it? Because you really chirped your mouth pretty good on this video, making me look like an idiot.
I'm not making you look like an idiot, dude.
Let's put money up. Let's put money up.
Yeah, that's the only right thing. He's just counterpointing his agreement. So let's hear the
Marco's taking it a little personally.
Why
would I make you look like an idiot? You're not the coach of their offense. And I understand they could cover 9. Of course they could cover 9. I think Northwestern will struggle to score 3 points. I think the game is going to be 10-0, 10-3, or 10-7. So I'm going to go under the total just like Mr. Ralph Michaels. Guys, quick commercial break where we're going to talk about you, Marco. And then we'll right back with 2 NFL games. Hey, everybody, I'm the Prez. Long story short, Marco D'Angelo. The man is absolutely rolling right now in all sports. He is on a 10-1 run. He went 2-0 last night. And you can get his next 7 days for an extremely low $79. That's roughly $11 a day. Slightly less, but roughly $11 a day. 7 days for $79. Use the promo code MARCO79. That is MARCO79. And my brother Marco, 10-1 run, dude. Way to go, man. Congratulations.
Thank you, Prez. Appreciate that.
You've also won, I think you've won all 3 of your 5 stars in college football, right?
3-1. We lost the first one that week 0 of the college football season. And then we rolled off 3 in a row, and then we finished last year winning 4 in a row. So it's a 7-1 run going back to last year on the 5s.
Excellent, way to go! I actually didn't bet that first one, so I have bet all 3 of your 5% winners. Guys, Buffalo -6 against Cincinnati. The over and under went from 40 to 43.5. 2-0 Buffalo against an 0-2 Cincinnati. But before we get into this, one of the big rules in week 3 for me is don't bet against teams that are 0-2. I released Tennessee last night. Broke my rule. But I did release the under, so I went 1-1, which for me is massive improvement based on how pathetic my season has started. Buffalo finds themselves at -6, and I look at this game similar to the way I look at that Michigan State game, in a way where I think Buffalo is one of the best defenses in the league, period. If not the best, top 3 defense in football right now. And I think Cincinnati is struggling to score and will struggle to score. Their offense is completely out of rhythm. But 6 points is a lot for a team that you can't count on putting in the 20s. I think this game is going to be a low-scoring game. My lean is towards Buffalo, but I'm not going to get there. Ralph, I'll go to you first. What do you like in this one?
I am a Bills fan. I agree with them having one of the best defenses. They're at the end of the year, when you look at defenses, and defenses are, in the NFL gauged by yards per game, they may not have the best numbers because Josh Allen's going to make some mistakes. He's going to turn the ball over. It's going to put him in bad spots. So, you need that dominant rush offense to control the clock where your defense is on the field less to be considered the best. But I think this Bills team is for real. Starting on the road back-to-back games, holding opponents to under 300 yards, holding opponents to under 20 first downs. Yeah, you could say it was the Jets and the Giants, but again, at this point, we can only gauge on who you played. I think Josh Allen is turning it around. His percentage is 64% through 2 games. That is huge. Devin Singletary has added some boost in the running game. I think John Brown has been able to stretch the field. And I look at Cincinnati, and they're still missing A.J. Green. And John Ross took over, had a big first game against Seattle. I mean, they put up 429 yards in Seattle. So it's not like they've completely struggled. They struggled getting to the end zone with 20-plus points. I clearly like the Bills in this spot, but we're taking a team that's just learning how to win, and I say this often, and learning how to cover as a touchdown favorite is the next step they have to make. They were a dog against the Jets. They were a dog early against the Giants, and they became a small favorite. But now they're home 2-0. People know they're good. People know they're the favorite. The players know they're the favorite. So while I clearly side with Buffalo, it's not going to take my card until they prove to me they can have a lead in the fourth quarter and either hold that lead or extend the lead instead of sitting on it in the fourth.
I agree. Well said, Ralph. Marco, talk to us. Explain why the anemic Buffalo offense is going to Michigan State their way to a cover.
They're not. I'm on the Cincinnati Bengals in this spot. And Ralph, I don't have it in front of me, but don't you have an angle on teams that played the first 2 games on the road and then play at home in week 3 for their season opener?
Yeah, we gave it out on Bet On It as one of the angles. And as you finish up, Marco, I'm going to grab it. I'll be right back and I'll get it for you.
All right, because it favors me in this one. I'm looking at this one, Prez, and this is a spot where you're getting, to me, a double overreaction from the public. Now, Cincinnati went that first week and went to Seattle and played remarkably well. I think it was a case, maybe Seattle come in there a little bit cocky, looking past them, figuring, they had no problem with a Bengals team that was pathetic last year, didn't look good in the preseason, and had the Steelers on deck. And Seattle was in a battle in that game. They managed to pull it out in the second half, 21-20. So because Cincinnati looked so good that first week, the public jumped all over them last week. I wasn't one of them. I was on San Francisco. They drove San Francisco from opening as the favorite to Cincinnati becoming the favorite in that game, and I thought it was a huge mistake, and it was. They got drilled 41-17. So the moral of the story is here, Cincinnati's not as good as they looked in the Seattle game, and they're not as bad as they looked in the San Francisco game. As Ralph said, Andy Dalton has looked good in the passing game. What I don't like is that they don't have much balance. So far, their offensive balance run to pass. In game 1, a game that they were in, 21-20, they threw the football 51 times in that game to only 14 rushes. You can't win in the NFL that way. You need a little more balance. Second week, I can understand them throwing the ball more because they were behind, but they threw it 42 times. They still ran it only 25. Which was actually, 19 times they ran it. They had 25 yards. I'm looking for them to get a little more balance this week against this Buffalo team. And you look at this Buffalo team, and although they have won comfortably last week, they got the win against the Jets in week 1, which was an absolute gift. Ralph had tweeted out a stat after that game that teams that are -3 in turnovers, how few of them are ever able to win in the NFL when they were able to overcome that and on the road. They played back-to-back on the road, both of them in the same stadium. I'm going to throw one other stat out there, and this is actually a system play, and as Ralph broke down on Bet On It, the difference between trends and angles and such is that when you have something that's league-wide it's a much better angle than just team specific, because this puts every team in the NFL in the same situation. And when it comes up, you can trust it more. And over the last 10 seasons, if you blindly played underdogs that had bad defenses the year before, and by bad defenses, we're talking about allowed 385 yards or more per game, those teams are 31-11 against the spread the last 10 seasons. That's a 73% angle, and that's putting me on the Cincinnati Bengals this week, and I'll throw the last part of it in here. Look at who Buffalo plays next week. They're coming off of 2 games against the New York teams, come home for their home opener, and have New England on deck. That's the game they're looking to. I think Cincy is a very live dog here. This line went from the look-ahead line of 4.5 to we're seeing it 6 now. Too much value. I'm taking the road dog with the Cincinnati Bengals.
You hear my dog barking in the back. My dog rarely barks. We named him D'Antoni. Oh.
All right, let me jump in and give that angle Marco was talking about. If you like these kind of angle, guys, follow me at CalSportsLV, or on the Bet On It show. I give out a couple throughout the show each week. Home teams, week 3, that played on the road, weeks 1 and 2, have gone 10, 25, and 2 against the spread, 28.6%. Buffalo, KC, Indy, and San Fran fall in that category. Taking a subset, if you played the first 2 games on the road and now you're a favorite, you've gone 6 and 20 against the spread, 23%. All 4 fit into that. And if you're a short home favorite, which means you're playing a decent team at home, you're 2 and 14 against the spread. That's the Indianapolis Colts. Buffalo does not fall into the last category, but the Indianapolis Colts do.
Guys, quick commercial break. We're right back for one more game. This show has gotten longer than it was anticipated, but that's Marco's fault. Hey everybody, really quick. I've been telling you guys about Dave Koken and Teddy all week. Bottom line, Dave Koken is 20-10 in football since the start of preseason, 12-5 in college football. Teddy is 21-11 in football on the season since the preseason started in NFL, and on a 6-0 NFL run. You can have both their plays for the next 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for $59. For $59. Use the promo code Teddy59 and Koken59, and don't forget Marco D'Angelo's special. Marco 79, $79 for a week of Marco's plays. Guys, I am sick as a dog. Ay, ay, ay. Green Bay, -7 against Denver. If you want to hear my thoughts, listen to it on the NFL presidential address. If you want to hear Marco's thoughts in great detail, because we're going to keep him short on this one, listen to Bet On It. Ralph, I'll go to you first. What do you like in this game?
I'm going to like the under again. You look at Green Bay, I'm very impressed with their defense. Aaron Rodgers talked about being excited and open up this new playbook under a new coach. It hasn't happened in my mind. We've seen Denver's defense be legit. We've seen Denver's offense struggle. I like the under here.
He's Ralph Michaels from WagerTalk.com. Marco D'Angelo, what are your thoughts?
Well, guys, I'm on the dog here, and on Bet On It, we do a segment where I do the sandwich game of the week or the trap game of the week. This was almost my trap game of the week, and that's taking the Denver Broncos and the trap being the Green Bay Packers. Nobody is going to want to look at Denver after their first 2 performances. They scored 16 points against an atrocious Oakland defense. Hey, it was a Monday night home opener. The Raiders were sky high. It was that weekend right off of the Antonio Brown situation, releasing him. They were ready to play. Last week, they were in a dogfight against the Bears, a super defense against the Bears. Now they go against Green Bay. Green Bay's defense is improved, guys. I'll admit that, but it is still Green Bay, they're not to the level of Chicago's defense. I think Denver's going to have much better success this week. Also, the fact that this is a horrible scheduling spot for the Green Bay Packers. They're coming off of playing division rival opening night, Thursday night, the Chicago Bears on the road. Then come home and play the other division rival, the two teams that they're going to battle for the crown in the NFC North, the Minnesota Vikings. They took a 21-0 lead in that game, and then they had to hang on for dear life to win 21-16. This is a flat spot for them, playing a non-division game, second week in a row at home. But here's why I'm calling it almost made it the trap game. The scheduling spot clearly puts it on Denver. But we talk about teaser blockers all the time, that when you see a game that's sitting at 7.5, more often than not, Vegas is going to move that line to 8.5 or 9 to stop the teasers. They don't want to get people just taking that 6-point teaser and getting it down to 1.5. They'll raise it up to 9 so that you've got to use a 7-point teaser to do it, or you're not going to do the teaser. They didn't move the teaser line on this one. They've left this one at 7.5, and I've even seen some rogue 7s, which means you're getting a ton of sharp money keeping this game at the 7.5 and now popping up 7s. I'm on the Denver Broncos here. This is going to be the shocker of the week. Can they go in there and win it? Maybe, maybe not, but it's getting the 7.5 right now. I see this as a field goal game, and I'll take Denver, and Denver's defense is good. I'll take them plus the points.
We didn't discuss this game. 30 seconds or less. Ralph, go first. Cal plus 2.5 versus Ole Miss. One of our listeners wanted your thoughts on it.
Under. Number one, you have a Pac-12 team playing at 9 a.m. Pacific. That doesn't happen. So I expect the offenses to be slow. Cal's offense is already poor. Cal is now 1-11 over/under their last 12 games. You look at Ole Miss. Ole Miss has gone 2-7 over/under, their last 9 games. Again, another low total, but I'm not afraid to play these low totals with warranted with 2 underperforming offenses and 2. Well, at least Cal has an excellent defense. Mississippi, with McIntyre now there, the old Colorado head coach, he's starting to get them playing in the right direction. I'm going to go under.
Marco, what are your thoughts?
Well, I can't disagree with the under, but I'm going to lean to Ole Miss. Tough scheduling spot for Cal with that early start time. And more importantly, this is their 4th game of the season, and they're playing an out-of-conference game. Generally, you don't see these like this this late in September. I'm going to go ahead and take Ole Miss, take that SEC team. If these two teams probably played 10 times, Cal would probably win 6 or 7 of them. But in this particular spot, I don't like them coming off, an easy win last week and have another conference game on deck next week. They had that great game against Washington 2 weeks ago. I'll take Ole Miss.
He's Marco D'Angelo, Ralph Michaels with us. That's the show, everyone. Guys, thanks so much for joining us on Morning Joe and the Pro. We're up every day, Monday to Friday at WagerTalk TV. A big thanks to Marco and Ralph. Ralph had to fill in last minute. Jeff Oskheim was supposed to be on the show. Whenever somebody cancels late minute, I always call Ralph. He's at the top of his game in this field. Everyone, have yourselves an incredible, superb weekend. I hope the ball bounces in the direction that you need. I'm the Prez. We'll see you on Monday. Namaste. I'm out.